I'm good. Thank you. Okay, I think it's been 10 minutes. I didn't really keep track of time. But if if you're getting that coffee, snacks, totally great. But I'll go ahead and get started just to kind of respect everybody's time. Get you out of here by 3 so you can go do whatever you're going to do this afternoon. We might even get out of here a little bit earlier, so there's that. So just thank you guys for coming. Thank you for letting me be here with you all. Thanks for spending all day at church talking about mental health. Just and touched. I'm excited, and I love that Pastor Tim is leading the way. So this third session I'm doing with Steph. So she's going to come up here and she's just going to chime in. We're going to just talk about taking care of yourself through stress management. So stress is something we all deal with, right? So it doesn't have to be kind of that mental illnesses. We're going to talk about some strategies that you can do proactively and kind of reactively to help support stress management so that we're all kind of just the best versions that we can be of ourselves. And when we take care of ourselves, when we're focusing on God, when we're praying, that's what we can become, the best versions of ourselves and see ourselves like God sees us. So Steph's just going to chime in whenever. So my presentations, I try to keep the why, the what, the how. That's kind of my format. So why are we focusing on stress management? And there's a coffee cup here. I know you guys just got some coffee, but our cups are so full, right? There are so many things. And I will say COVID kind of helped some of us slow down and step back and kind of took some things out of our cups, but added some other things in. But we're always so full. And I think in society, we tell ourselves the busier we are, the more important we are. And that's not true, but that's what we tell ourselves. But we're all so busy. We're all so stressed. We have so many things on our plates. So it's important that we focus on stress management. So we're making sure we're taking care of ourselves. Because if we don't, we're going to get down the road and be so frazzled and so fried and so overwhelmed that it's going to be really hard to kind of put it back together. The other reason we're talking about it is because of COVID. Like, COVID has caused a lot of change. I said this morning, our brains like consistency. It helps it to be much more efficient. But there's been a lot of change this past year. Changes with masks, changes with protocols, changes of online versus in person, and how close can I get? Can I give you a hug? I don't know. So lots of changes that have been happening and making us kind of question things that we've always done. And so has the social unrest that's been occurring, whether that we're seeing it online, there's secondary trauma, like we're living it, it's impacting people it's impacting ourselves, it's impacting people we love. And so we need to talk about stress management, as it relates to that. It's also, stress is neurological. We talked about like our neurological response in both sessions today. And so it has this physical base. It's like a real live thing. And when we're managing our stress, we can achieve more, we can manage our lives better. It helps us connect more to others. And obviously we deal with stress because we're humans and we're designed to handle stress because God knew it was coming. So, right, Carla? Okay, so I chose this verse, Lamentations 3:22 through 24, these verses, I should say, because I just want to know, it's just a reminder to me that the Lord is my portion. I was trying to play off of this, like our cup is full and the portion part. So, but we should be filling our cup with the Lord, and the Lord blesses us and he overflows our cup, but it's not overflowing with stress. So we put those things in there. And so if we can put our hope in him and pray with him, he can fill our cup with really good things. So talking about this kind of cycle again, we want to talk about being aware of our emotions we talked about this morning, and being self-aware of our stress is really important. And not trying to act like, oh, I got it, it's no big deal, we can just push through, it's going to be okay. Like really allowing yourself to manage it appropriately so that you can get through and be okay. And we do that through some regulation strategies. And when we're regulated, we can connect, because if we're dysregulated, it's really hard. Like if I'm tense and edgy, I'm not going to want to I'm not going to be the person you want to talk to. Let's just say that. Right, Mom? So, so you want to make sure you're regulated, because then you can connect with others. You are much more able and willing to open up and connect with God, and then that improves your mental state, your mental health. It connects you more to Christ. You see yourself as Christ sees you, and then the cycle starts over. So we talked about our stress response this morning. I'm not going to go through it again because everybody's going to be like, what? Or why are we talking about this again? But you have, your body is designed to deal with stress from this proverbial bear in the woods. But when we're in a chronic state of stress and it's ongoing because we're so busy, because of COVID, because we have this, and this, and we tell ourselves, I just have to get through this and then it'll be over. But we know something else is waiting for us. You know what I mean? As soon as we think we're through that, something else is coming up. And so we want to make sure that we're not living in this chronic state of stress, and that we can regulate, that we can calm ourselves, get to a calm state so that we're healthy and we don't have, these times when we feel edgy, when it impacts our relationship, when it's impacting just our mental wellness and how we're functioning. So in order to do this, this is called the window of tolerance, and this is just another way to kind of look at stress and stress management. So this is from Dr. Dan Siegel, and he works at UCLA in the medical school. And he's done a ton of work on the brain and stress and what happens to the brain and all kinds of things. But he's developed this window of tolerance. And he says there's a window we all have, and it's different for everybody. It's based on our experiences, based on kind of what proactive strategies we have in place. But we're all able to manage stress, right? Because we know we can manage it for about 20 minutes pretty efficiently. And that's kind of our optimal functioning area. Then there's these zones of hyperarousal and hypoarousal. So if you recognize that you are over-aroused, you have some things going on, like listed here, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're anxious, you're angry, your body wants to just kind of fight or flee. You have that fight, flight, or freeze response. You are hyper-aroused. You have too much stress going on. And when I say it out loud, it sounds pretty obvious, right? But sometimes these visuals help us. And then there's the zone of hypoarousal, when we don't have enough going on. So maybe we're just like, ugh, we get home, maybe we've binged Netflix all weekend, and we just don't feel the gumption, the motivation to do anything. That's under our window of tolerance. So we need some things in our life to kind of keep us motivated, to keep us moving, and that's in our sweet spot, this zone of our window of tolerance. So this is just kind of another visual, another idea of where we want to be. There's a lot more to this. If you're like, oh, I'm going to research more of this later, check out Dan Siegel in the window of tolerance. Do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, just with this one, it's when we talk about that idea of regulation, this is sort of what we're talking about. We've got that baseline, that center, that feeling, that thing that makes us relaxed and makes us calm is where we are normal at. That's where, our body is regulating, on all physical, emotional, spiritual levels at a normal level. And when we go above that, we're getting to this feeling of anxiety and being stressed and feeling, maybe anger, and our heartbeats get a little faster and our breathing gets a little faster and all those things. And so to regulate ourselves, you have to find the tools that help us calm ourselves back down, help us slow our breathing, help us kind of maybe cool ourselves down, get ourselves from that moment of anxiety down to our baseline. And the same goes for when we go below our baseline. Those are moments of depression. Those are moments where things slow down, for people whose fight or flight responses freeze and our entire body is just kind of stop. we're in that moment where we have to try to get ourselves to start moving again, get ourselves to raise our heartbeat, or to get us to go a little faster, and to make us go reach our baseline above so that we can actually get everything starting to move a little bit more.
Yeah, thank you. So if you think about your window of tolerance, that's when you're alert, when you know, like things are going pretty good, you feel like you're calm, like you're in control. That's your window of tolerance. So if you drew a picture, you know, you could just draw the window, the box, and kind of put in some things like, you know, this is a good spot, you're functioning really well, and then identify some things that are overwhelming for you and some things that are really kind of underwhelming for you. And then just kind of know that's where you function. And then when you see yourself kind of lurking into this hyperarousal stage, you know you need to implement a strategy to get back into this window of tolerance area. So it's just kind of a visual to know when, to help you identify when you're starting to get into that hyperarousal or that hypoarousal stage. So the Bible tells us not to be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient is the day for its own trouble. So there's a lot going on in our lives. And so we really want to make sure that we're in that window of tolerance, that we're focusing so that we can manage the anxieties that the day brings. So we all kind of have dealt with stress before. I'm just curious to know, like, what are some things that you guys do to help manage stress? Music. Awesome. Yeah, music is a big one. Reading. Sleep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exercise and prayer. Yeah. So movement that, you know, regulates your mind for sure. Sleep resets your body. You know, like sometimes you just need to I need to go reset and then I can come back. Yeah, good. Yeah. Having just, hey, I just need to run through this. Yeah, that really helps. Journaling. Yes. Yeah. Kind of the same thing, but private and something that you can go to later, but you're just getting it out on paper. Okay. Yeah, Antoinette. Yeah, so biblical, you look at those biblical anchors, those key verses that kind of help get you through. How many people lay in bed at night and you're trying to fall asleep and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm almost there. And then something pops in your mind. You're like, oh, now I can't sleep because now I'm worried about tomorrow. So what do you do then? You're awake. You're like, oh no, I'm awake. Well, okay, so here's a strategy that kind of, my head hits the pillow and I am passed out. I don't even know what happens. My alarm's going off and I'm hitting snooze. Stop. But I know Andrew, my husband, he'll wake up and he'll be thinking about things. And so sometimes it helps to have a parking lot. When you talked about journaling, just something by your bed where you can be like, okay, that's in my mind. I'm going to physically write it on this paper next to my bed and put it there. I'm going to park it there because in the morning it's still going to be there and I can handle it tomorrow. But I need to get my sleep so I can handle tomorrow, or I'm going to be much more edgy. So a parking lot is a great kind of go-to practical strategy. Okay, so great. Thank you for sharing your kind of go-tos. And so, the Bible tells us that we are to cast our anxieties on him because he cares for us. So sometimes it's really hard to be like, okay, I'm casting it on you. I'm giving this to you, Lord. And, I think we want to control everything sometimes. And so it's hard to release that control to the Lord. But and I've had to tell myself this throughout my life, that when you give it to God, you're giving it to the creator of the universe, and there's no other person better, who can handle it. He knows all. He's been there. He's ready to handle it much better than I ever could. So just give it to God. And so sometimes, when I think about this verse and I think about giving stuff up to God, that really helps me to know, it is in much better hands than in my hands. And that really helps. So when we talk about stress and we talk about how we're going to regulate that, we're looking at all of these different areas: spirituality, relationships, physical, exercise, our physical bodies, mental, cognitive, psychological, financial, and then occupational. So areas that stress impacts, there's also areas for regulation in each of these, and they're here. And there's a lot. And we're not going to go through all of them, but I just wanted you to kind of see some of these strategies. And Steph has these slides. And she said that she would, if anybody wants them, you're welcome to them. But we're just going to identify a couple areas of these. So when we talk about physical, Mary, you said sleep. That's something that really helps you. And this is something that we all need, and I think we neglect it, especially when we have so much on your plate. I know when I was, these are like true confessions. So a couple years ago, if I need to get stuff done, it was Andrew and I, we pull all-nighters at least once a week, and it's not healthy. I know that. And so I'm telling you these things to be like, do what I say, not what I do. But when you don't have good sleep hygiene, it impacts your whole life. And so when we're talking about sleep hygiene, who's heard of sleep hygiene? Okay, yeah. Candy? Connie? Okay. So sleep hygiene isn't like you take a shower and then you go to bed. That's not what it is. Sleep hygiene is really like you having the same patterns that help your body recognize it's time for bed. We're going to do the same things every night, and that helps your body rest more. So if you're struggling with sleeping because you need to reset, there are some simple things that you can do. So you go to bed at the same time every night. You get up at the same time every day, even on Saturdays, even on Sundays. You kind of have a ritual before you go to bed. So if that's brushing your teeth, washing your face, reading your Bible, whatever you do before bed, you do that. You want to try to stay away from blue light, so your screen, so you're not reading your emails in bed, because that'll keep you up. Or looking at Facebook or whatever you do in bed, and then kind of reserve your bed for sleep. So you're not watching a movie, and then falling asleep. So those are just some simple things that you can do to have good sleep hygiene that will help your overall mental health, help you with stress. You'll get enough good rest for the night, and then you can function. Another one under physical is progressive muscle relaxation. So who's heard of that? Okay, Connie. And Candy, I see your hand again? Okay, so a couple people. So this is something really easy that you can do, like if you're at work or you're just like, I need to calm my body. I can't get up and move. I'm not going to go through some breathing exercise because everybody will hear me huffing and puffing around and make it awkward. So you can just do this. And what it is you start with your toes and you just work up through your body, and you're trying to relax your body, because when you're stressed, your jaw's clenched, right? Your shoulders might get really tight, and this just kind of helps calm it. So what you do, you visualize essentially your toes kind of crunching up, tightening up, and while you're visualizing it, your toes are doing that, holding it for 5 seconds, and then releasing. And then you move up to your ankles and your calves and your thighs, and you're moving up through your whole body until you've kind of gone through all your major muscle systems. You've tightened them up, you visualized it, you held it, and then you've purposely released it. And that can get you in a calm state. So it's something if you're really tense and you're I just need to relax for a minute, that's something that you can do to kind of get you in a good spot. Spiritually, prayer, we talked about how prayer impacts different areas of our brain, our attention areas, our language areas. We know we're in a conversation with somebody, so talking through some things. Prayer is something that you can do to be able to manage stress. And then, there's a whole list. Music's on here. Music is huge. It definitely has an impact on your mood, your emotions, and how you're feeling. And then under mental, cognitive, and psychological, there's art. There's trying to celebrate those positives. So sometimes when you're in a stressful situation, kind of looking at that optimistic, silver lining approach, even though you may not want to, and that's really hard to do, that is really helpful. And like if you're in a rut and you're struggling with something and it's really stressful, you can take a growth mindset. And so this is based on the work of Carol Dweck, but it's really like saying like, I'm not there yet. And kind of that power of yet, like I'm working through it. I'm going to be able to get through it, but I need prayer. I need support from my brother and sister in Christ. I need, to learn something new or a new strategy. So just having that positive mindset helps, that positive self-talk. When we talk about financial or occupational, setting goals and making them SMART goals so that they're specific, they're measurable, it's something that you can come back to and it's reasonable and they're timely so that you can kind of see your progress. So goals are really important, not just for your job, but also financially as well. And then when we talk about relationships, you obviously want safe relationships and kind of looking at those relationships that are not safe and what you can do to kind of either change that or get out of them. But then to have a relationship with somebody at church, maybe you need a prayer partner. Maybe it's an accountability partner. Maybe it's a mentor, somebody that can help. Small groups is huge. I mentioned that Jesus had his small group with his disciples all the time. And so small groups are really important. Not just for the meeting time, but also kind of following up with some different strategies and help encourage one another. Steph, did you want to say anything about any of these on here?
Yes. One thing I wanted to point out here is that as much as these are great strategies to regulate just emotions and just to take a break from everything, they're also huge spiritual disciplines too. When we think about as Christians and how we're growing in our faith and maturing and building connections with God, we sit down, we pray, we do small groups, we journal, we listen to worship music, we do all these kind of things, and they relax us because they're the same things that help regulate ourselves. So when we sit down to connect with God, we're also sitting down to reconnect our body. And when you think about them in the same way, doing these strategies doesn't seem so complicated. It doesn't seem like I have to check them off of like a list, that I have to pray, I have to listen to music, I have to be with my pets, because that is up there. But it's just about, when we connect with God, that we're also able just to connect with ourselves. We're able to sit down, we're able to relax, we're able to process everything that's going on in our daily lives, everything that's going on in our body, and we can actually just think through it and process it.
Yeah, thank you. And this is, a short list of some things under everything. And like Stephanie said, you don't have to do all of these. Like you would be stressed out if you had to do all of these. Like I feel like there is no time in the day for that. So, but these are just some strategies that you can try, and not everything's going to work for everybody. So if you're like, yep, that doesn't work for me, don't do it. Or it might work one time and not the next. So keep a menu of things that kind of like your go-to, if it's music, if it's journaling, if it's talking through, if it's taking a nap, whatever it is, that's your go-to. Have a menu of things that you can use, that you're using on a regular basis, that it's not just when you're completely overwhelmed and you're in this hyper arousal mode. Do these things on a regular basis. Prayer, those disciplines will help you manage stress every single day, because we get stress all day, every day, so we can handle it better.
Exactly, yeah. If you keep these things as part of your baseline, as part of the things that center you, when you go into those moments of anxiety or depression, doing those everyday, spiritual disciplines are things that are going to help you bring back to your baseline. And if you only do them every so often, they might not have as big of an impact as if you just do them daily and put them as a part of this is what's going to keep me centered, this is what's going to keep me balanced.
Okay. The other thing I think that really helps, at least for me, is just to remember every time you commit to something, every time you say yes to something, every time you're like, yep, I can get that done, I can get that done, I can get that done. Every yes you say is a silent no to something else. So when I say yes to this, what am I saying no to? Is it another big project that's going to stress me out more? Is it time with my kids? Is it time with my husband? Is it time with my family, my friends? What am I saying no to? Is it time for me to am I taking time away from my prayer life? Is it taking time away from X, Y, and Z. What is distracting me? So filter that through your decisions. Like every yes is a silent no, and that really has stuck with me. And then also, like, filter it through, you know, is this something that God wants me to do? Or is this something that I want to do? You know, especially if it's something that's going to kind of add more stress to your life. Is this part of God's plan? Is it increasing his kingdom? Is this what he would want? And then, of course, you know, kind of answering that question, what am I saying no to? If you're like, it's okay if I do this, but what is the sacrifice of me doing this? So that kind of helps manage, because we always talk about that work-life balance all the time. So this can kind of be something that you can use as a filter when you're saying, yeah, I can get that done. And then we talked about the sphere of control this morning, and I think this is such a practical strategy to look at what's inside of our control, what's outside of our control, give it to God, what's outside of your control, know that He's got everything. It's all in His hand. And we went through that this morning. And then always just remember that I try to, talk about this palm tree. There are going to be storms in life. We're going to have times in our life when we're hyper aroused more than in our window of tolerance, where we can kind of manage stress. And so when we're in those stressful situations, if we have strategies that are kind of like our go-to, we can implement those, and we're used to doing them. We know the effect that it's going to have, and know that prayer, breathing, and movement, those are the three things that can really, has shown neurologically through scans and different things like that to calm you. Another area where we might need to go to help manage stress and manage some things is counseling. And sometimes you just need somebody else to have this outside perspective that's going to look at everything you have going on, who's going to be like, okay, there's a lot here. We need to you need to decide what's most important to you and kind of help you develop a plan. What are your stress management techniques that you're using? Maybe teach you some new strategies. Today we talked about some really practical things, but if you go to counseling, they'll teach you even more strategies, like more in-depth strategies, kind of the theory behind it, the psychology behind all of those strategies. And so we have a list, and it's not an exhaustive list. If you decide to go to counseling, that's a great step. It's a personal step for sure. But check, there's a lot of resources here in Elkhart County and St. Joe County, which is right next door, for people to get the help. I will say, with COVID, with the social unrest, the waiting lists are really long. And so if you're thinking this is something that you're interested in, get on the list, now before you get completely overwhelmed. And then I talked about this morning. This is when I'm praying, when I'm trying to manage stress, this is my biblical anchor, Deuteronomy 31:8. It's really just, God is always with us. He's already gone before us. He's got it. Even though we feel stressed and completely out of control, He has got this. And He's got you, and He loves you, and He has good plans for your life, no matter what kind of stress you're dealing with, what kind of trauma you might be dealing with, what kind of other things are going on, big things in your life that are impacting you. God's got you, and He wants good for your life. So what we want to do is just kind of leave you with, Stephanie wants to teach you a strategy that you can incorporate some of these regulation strategies into your prayer life. We talked about how, this list that we showed a couple slides ago, there's a lot here, and it's not for everybody. What I do, there it is. Okay. What I do to manage stress doesn't necessarily work for my husband, isn't going to necessarily work for either one of my kids, and we all live in the same house, and that's okay. God made us all different, and that's the beauty of it. So find a strategy that works for you, and really today we just wanted to give you a couple go-to practical things that you can do, and then like I said, Steph will teach us another strategy that we can use with our prayer walk. And so I'm going to turn it over to her, but I want to thank you for letting me come and be here with everybody today.
basically, I just wanted to end today with going through the movement, breathing, and prayer, just kind of bringing those together to kind of give you just something you can do real quick whenever, like, you're in moments of prayer, whenever in moments of, irregularity, just something that you can do real quick that'll help you, I think, with regulating your emotions. So first off, I need everyone to stand. Gotta get your blood flowing a little bit here. Y'all been sitting too long. And I'm also going to ask that everyone closes their eyes just so that you feel, more at ease to do whatever it is that I'm asking you to do, and you don't feel embarrassed or anything like that. Not that I'm doing anything embarrassing with you guys. So first thing is movement. And when you're going through moments of stress or even moments where your body is shutting down because you're irregular, moving kind of just helps it out. So the first thing to do is just to shake it out, and literally every part of your body, just move it, shake it. Think about what's causing you to be emotional, causing you to be stressful, and just imagine it escaping through the moving parts of your body. So move your head, move your legs, move your fingers and your toes and your arms. Just go crazy with it. Just remember imagining all of those stressful things just kind of escaping with the movement, escaping through all the, whatever it is that you're doing. Imagine it flowing away from you. And then imagine your body just kind of going back to relaxation now. And now, when we're breathing, I want you to stand with your feet firmly against the ground, lower your arms, relax your shoulders, unclench your jaw, and just breathe in and hold it, and then breathe it out slowly. Keep breathing like that. Whether your body is moving too fast or whether it's moving too slow, steady breathing can help you get back to your baseline. Just a silent in and a quick out. Allowing your muscles to relax, forcing them to ease up, allowing your body to release the tension that it's feeling. And then the last thing is just, as your body is relaxing now, I want you to picture the things in your mind that might be causing you, joy. That might be, the opposite of things that are stressing you right now. Picture those things that are good, things that are calming, things that are relaxing. And as you're breathing, allow those feelings of, positive emotions to kind of wash away all of the stress and to wash away all of the negative emotions. For example, I'll share with you mine. The calming nature of waves really helps me. If you ever slept with wave noises on, you'll know what I mean. But if you just imagine the noise of waves crashing as you're allowing all of those negative things to pass away, your body is slowly releasing its tension. It's slowly beginning to relax. Your mind is beginning to think a little bit more as you're listening to the noise, as you're listening to even the sound of my voice. These things that are just kind of relaxing you down and allowing your body to feel at ease. Keep that state while I end us in a prayer today. Dear God, thank you so much for making us and designing us to process this way, allowing us to become at ease when we're in moments of anxiety or we're in moments of despair, things that are setting us off, things that aren't right and aren't normal. You've given us the ability to connect to you and to let it go, to relax, to feel at ease. It's not always easy being able to just breathe, but you're here with us, and I want to thank you so much for being here with us. I know some people in this room or some people who will watch this later might be dealing with a lot of stress, might be dealing with a lot of emotions that aren't necessarily the best. And we just want to lift them up in prayer today, lift up the people who are here listening, saying that it's okay. You're with them. You're here. And in the end of the day, all we really have to do is breathe, to pray to you, to calm us down. I pray that you will be with us as we leave today and as we take some of the things that we've learned here today with us. In your name I pray. Amen. Thank you guys for doing that with me, and you are dismissed.